Steven Cohen, I like something that you say about your art. If I quote you, you say, "I believe in my art, and my art demands I eat myself, even if it has to taste like shit." Do you remember this quote?
I do. That was actually a quote that came from a specific work, and the work was called Taste. And it was made in response to an art therapy course that I went on. And my work was about squirting something out of my anus into a glass and drinking it to the song L'chaim, which is a Jewish song about life. And it was about self-acceptance and about accepting all parts of myself, the parts that are beautiful and glamorous, as well as the parts that taste like shit.
Okay.
But of course I meant it metaphorically, even though the performance was literal.
So you spoke about your Jewish identity?
I come from South Africa, where Jews were white and in a position of power and in some sense culpable for apartheid, much like Zionism is a shining example of modern-day apartheid. So for me, being Jewish is about being in a compromised position, half victim, half abuser. So it's not like I'm profoundly and strongly Jewish and at the same time profoundly anti-Zionist.
What do you mean profoundly Jewish? In which way then?
I mean, at a cellular level, I'm Jewish. Everything I do is Jewish. Everything I say is Jewish, and how I look and am is Jewish. You know, being Jewish is not a choice. It's in a sense that I'm talking about being Jewish at a genetic level. Because my work has been rejected by and large by the Jewish community.
Why is that?
Because, you see, at the same time I have to reconcile being Jewish and being queer. And in the Old Testament, you know, the injunctions against being queer involve everything including murder, homosexuals, and you will not be guilty of murder. Mm-hmm. So it's about reconciling all these different aspects of my life.
Let's speak maybe about this show that you're presenting to the Bâtie-Festival, The Cradle of Humankind. How did the idea of this show started?
It started with an immense desire to let Nomsa express herself, because I'm afraid Nomsa will die even though she'll probably outlive me. And at the same time, ever since I was a child, I was fascinated by these caves in South Africa, which are a World Heritage Site and are the site of our oldest human ancestors. So I brought those two ideas together, of using this very precious site and of using this very precious person in the work.
So if I understand about the project, is it a bit Darwin versus Bible story?
Ah, no, it's none of that.
No?
No,
that's what I read.
Sorry. It's all that. But that comes with the package. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's a work about being human, about being an animal with a social conscience, about this immense journey we've made from the caves to the moon, which is only the beginning.
As an artist, you say that this time where humankind mastered the fire and stood up somehow is very important to relate to.
Standing up and being able to light both an environment and ourselves, for me, is like the beginning of performance art, theatre, visual art, in the caves, in the rock paintings. It all happened then.
What's your artistic family your references, influences most from the early time when you started to become a performer?
I don't really give a fuck about other artists or what they do. Knowing a lot about other art is just, for me, just imposes a whole lot of restrictions on what I cannot do because it's been done before. It's so difficult to say that I'm influenced by artists when in fact I'm influenced by
literature,
real people,
okay,
by homeless people, by Nomsa, who's been a servant and a domestic all her life and who's taught me more about openness and generosity and creativity than images I see in books. But it's not like I reject art because I walk around museums in astonishment. I went recently to the Prado and I was amazed at all the obscenity in the name of God. All the images of religious, of saints squeezing milk out of their tits and things like that. So I think religion is a beautiful basis for learning about pornographic art.
We can speak maybe a bit about Nomsa, because she had been working with you, for you. I don't know how you say it.
She was on her hands and knees all my life. That's how I say it. Nomsa was an appliance when I was growing up. Nomsa was the Hoover and the washing machine and the oven and the fridge. I had to unlearn what my country and my parents had taught me to understand that Nomsa was a human being. I think there's nothing worse than being invisible. She's the most coherent, intelligent 90-year-old I know.
You often bring your performances outside of the theatre. You like to do that.
It's more like I think that museums are quarantined art spaces where only very art-desperate people go. And in South Africa, space was and is politicized, so black people couldn't even enter a gallery by law. Mm-hmm. And so for me it was really important to take the work into the street where the people are, instead of into a museum where the experts are. Because I'm not an artist who makes work for critics. I'm an artist who makes work because I believe in the work and because I want to take it to people.
What would you have done if you wouldn't be an artist?
I've said before, and I really mean it, that art is my alternative to suicide. I don't know how else to be except an artist. And I'm from a family of 2 children, and my brother committed suicide. And I think it was because he never found a way to express himself. And so for me, art is all I have. And it's a lot to have.
Mm-hmm. What are you then?
Did you save the difficult questions for the end? I suppose being an artist is an attempt to find an answer to that question.
You mean it's just a mean to be introspective with yourself?
I think it's important to be able to see through yourself, not into yourself.
How do you do that?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to find out. All these complicated and embarrassing, almost humiliating public endeavor to find that out.
Sometimes you describe yourself as a monster. Do you have a monster with which you could identify yourself?
Well, there's this myth of, I don't know if myth is a good word, this belief in the Jewish golem, the monstrous, unacceptable. But for me, it's more just about real practical monstrosity. I think in every single one of us is a monster, capable of the most obscene and inhuman acts against God, nature, and each other. I mean, who's not really part monster?
No a la manera de otra que una vaga sombra insinúa en la vaga historia. Aún está verde y viva la memoria del galeón de la rabina grande. Sediento de saber lo que Dios sabe, cada león se dio a permutaciones eléctricas y a complejas variaciones, y al fin pronunció el nombre que es la clave, la fuerte, el eje, el huésped, el palacio, por un muñeco que como torpe humano labró para enseñarle las arcanas.